Okay, awesome. Hadil, I can give you back host status now. We are live on Facebook. So let me give you. Okay, awesome. Well, I think we can get started. It is 4:30. So welcome everybody. I am so excited to see how many people are here. We are so excited to have you at the launch event for the WorldWISE Storytelling Project, a global initiative that highlights the impact stories of women from across the globe. So welcome to everyone who is just joining in. I'm seeing a bunch of familiar faces from all over the world. So this is super exciting. I don't think we need to wait any longer since we have a bunch of attendees. So we can get started. Welcome again. My name is Audrey Lotus. I am the storytelling coordinator for the WorldWISE Storytelling Project. I have been leading this initiative for the past year and a half, conducting interviews with women social entrepreneurs from across the world about their journeys and the impact that they are having. So today we're officially launching the WorldWISE Storytelling Project and our website, and I could not be more excited to share these incredible women's stories of change making. So before we go any further, I would love to have a quick round of introductions of our panelists and the Ashoka team, so that the attendees know a little bit about who is speaking. And as we do that, feel free to put your name and location in the chat so we can see who is coming from where. So I can get started. As I mentioned, my name is Audrey Lotus. I'm the storytelling coordinator for Ashoka Arab World in Egypt. I'm currently based in Cairo, but I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. So next I can hand over the microphone to Geneva Gleason.
Hi, my name is Geneva. I'm based in Egypt as well, from the US, and I'm the global coordinator of the Women's Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship, and I'm very proud to share this work with you all today. Dr. Iman, will you please introduce yourself?
Did you say Dr. Iman? Because I couldn't. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Iman Bibars. I am the founder of Ashoka Arab World and the founder of the WISE movement, which is Women Initiative for Social Entrepreneurs. And I think I would like to thank everyone that they're here, and I'm very proud of this initiative as part of the WISE movement, which I'll talk about later. Let me go to Rana.
Assalamu alaikum, peace upon you all. My name is Rana Dajani. I'm based in Jordan. I'm an Ashoka Fellow, and I'm the founder and director of We Love Reading, an initiative about changing mindsets through reading to create change makers. And I'm a professor of molecular cell biology. Over to the next person, Hasina.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hasina Karbi, Ashoka Fellow from India. Also journeyed with Dr. Iman, my mentor, in bringing WISE storytelling and the WISE initiative. I run an organization called Impulse NGO Network, a nonprofit, and also a hybrid Impulse social enterprises working in Southeast Asia.
Move to someone else.
I can go next. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Aya Sabri. I'm based in Cairo, Egypt. I work as the regional program officer for Ashoka Arab World. Hadil, to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Hadil Kamel. I'm the Partnerships and Communication Officer at Ashoka Arab World, and I'm also based in Cairo, and I'm from Egypt. I think that's it for us, Audrey, right?
Yes, it is. Right. Thank you for those concise introductions. I really appreciate it. We'll dive a little bit deeper later. So now I would like to give the floor to Dr. Iman Bibars, who is the Regional Director of Ashoka Arab World and the movement leader for the Women's Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship. So Dr. Iman, you have the floor.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you all and all the 64 people who are there. I just want to say something. Everybody, Abdel Galil is there, so he's an old colleague. I just saw his name. Except why are all the pictures giving a picture of a woman in the chat? So it should be either WISE or their pictures, but there's only one woman that's coming up. And anyway, so it should be a WISE picture or the people's picture. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Welcome to the launch of this event. This is a launch for our website for the WISE Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship Storytelling Project, which is one of really the activities of WISE and WISE movement, which I will talk about later. It's very important. Our objective today is not only to introduce you to the website, but also to introduce you to what is the storytelling project, what is WISE, why are we doing this? And this is very important because these are not the normal stories that you're used to. These are very different stories where we are trying to prove the impact of women. We also, and that's what the second objective, we want to highlight the impact of women. We want to believe that women social entrepreneurs do have an impact different from what the ecosystem thinks. And that's why we want more investment in women-led organizations. Who's moving the slides?
I'm sorry,
okay.
I am moving the slides, but they're okay. Well, they were stuck.
Okay. Okay. So today for the introduction, what we wanted to do really is to use two of the stories that were collected in the Storytelling Initiative and share the stories with you. So we have Rana Dajani, she's an Ashoka Fellow, and in her, the session will be moderated by Aya Sabri, who has been working with Ashoka Arab World for 8 years, who has been very instrumental in the success of any project we did. And she's also the fellowship officer. So a lot of you, if you're fellows, you know Aya. So that will be led. And then the second session will be, or the second story will be with Hasina. And Hasina is a very dear friend. And she started with me the WISE movement from 2011. Then there will be a Q&A session with the audience. And Audrey will moderate that. And then get involved with WISE because there are many opportunities for everyone to join the movement. And Geneva Gleason will be the one to moderate that session because she's also the global coordinator of WISE. And then the closing session. But before all that, I want to introduce you and give you more details and information about WISE and the WISE initiative. Yeah, okay. We are very clever in the slides, so it tells me a lot of wonderful things. Will we do the icebreaker? Because there was an icebreaker before this. What's going on, guys? Okay. So you want to start the icebreaker? Because this was
yes.
Audrey?
Yes, Hadiel, if we could go back to the icebreaker, that would be great. Okay, so before we, thank you, Dr. Iman. Before we explore these two powerful women's stories, Dr. Rana and Hasina, we would love to hear from the audience. We'd love to do a little icebreaker question. So tell us in the chat, when is the last time you were affected by a story? It could be something you saw on the news, a podcast you listened to, or maybe even a story that someone told you in real life. So tell us about that and tell us what do you think it was that made it powerful. So please feel free to put your answers in the chat and we will come back to it in a few minutes. So while we wait for your answers, we're going to learn a little bit more about the Women's Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship and Ashoka Arab World. So Dr. Iman, back to you.
Okay, very well organized session. Okay, guys, it's I'm sorry. It's just that there were some changes with the agenda, so I was a little bit confused. But we are entrepreneurs, we're creative, we're innovative, so we will try to address all these changes that come suddenly. So Ashoka Arab World, it was founded in the Arab world in 2003, and when we came here, the word social entrepreneurship was not known. Now, actually in March, we will be here in the Arab world for 19 years. We're working in 11 countries. We have more than 115 Ashoka Fellows in the Arab world, and Rana is one of them. One of my favorites. They're all my favorites. But it was very important for us at the beginning to look for and start looking for social entrepreneurs, those people who are obsessed with an idea and who really want to change the world and to solve the problems that our region is facing. Now, WISE is another initiative that came out of my work. In 2009, I went to the school, and we were asked the questions: how many fellows that are females that you have, and how many of them scaled? And at that time, the average or the percentage was between 38% and 40%. And then we discovered that according even to our definition, the ones who are considered scaling were only 7%. And that's where I came up with the idea, and it matured by 2011, that we have to redefine success from a social entrepreneurship perspective. We have to change the rules of the game, and we have to start thinking of the different types of impact that women do. And so we have several objectives and activities that we want to do. We have what we call the WISE Global Panel, which is we want to elect more female fellows so that they reach 50% of the whole number of fellows in the world. And WISE, since 2018, has become already a global movement. So it's not only for the Arab world. So we want to elect more women working in every field. WISE is not about gender empowerment. WISE is about women and trying to prove that women have an impact, and we try to support them, and we try to create an atmosphere or an ecosystem that also identifies that women do have an impact. Then we also, the other thing is Okay, to provide tailored and effective leadership and acceleration support to increase the knowledge of our fellows. And the third thing is to expand also the definition, actually to redefine success. So we have several activities. We have the WISE Global panels. We have the storytelling initiative, which we are talking about it today in the website. And we also have the Changemakers platform and other activities that Geneva will even elaborate on. But the whole goal of everything we do is really to redefine success and to prove that women can and have an impact. Okay, and that is why the storytelling project is what really we've been working for. We've been working on for the last year and a half. And really, it's about telling the stories of our female social entrepreneurs, but really focusing only on system change, scale up, scale out, and scale deep, and I'll explain it later, and proving that they have an impact. So it's not the traditional story. It's not the way about only the achievements or the way, like activities and what they have done, but more their impact. And this is really what differentiates us from any storytelling. We are trying to prove that women have an impact, and the storytelling project and all the stories, and today Hasina and Rana will be to prove to everyone that yes, women social entrepreneurs have an impact, but and whether they're scaling up, deep, or out. And the problem is with the ecosystem that does not really recognize this. These are examples that you will find. You will find that there are already, I think we made more than 86 stories. No, we made, let me go because things have changed. Okay. So we have, Audrey conducted 116 interviews and 86 stories, but actually the website will only have 10 because again, we always work in teams and we all respond and work on the stories at the end to give, to reflect really what we want to do. So the 10 stories that now are on the website are stories that really reflect what we want to do in WISE. And we hope that Audrey finishes the rest of the 86 leading social entrepreneurs stories, by the end of this year, but everybody's going to support her, so don't worry. We will launch the 10 stories, but we will launch others, and we really want you all to add, to come to the website and be partners with us. Okay. Yeah. So what do we mean by the impact? I said it many times, but I'm not sure how many of the people and the participants are people know it. But again, the redefining success, normally, and again, traditionally, the success was defined by how many people you have reached or by if you replicated, which is important. But that's not always the case. I decided, and my team from 2011, the group that we worked with, that there are 3 ways to really assess the impact of women. Scaling up when you change policies. So if you change a policy about somebody who is not, any policy that's really, prejudiced against a particular group, you actually affect that group, but also generations to come. So for example, an Egyptian NGO changed the nationality law in 2003. By 2015, 17 million kids who were not Egyptian became Egyptian, were able to go to school, were able to work. So again, the way we really, and most of our women really are cause-driven. So that's the scaling up, when you change really the policies or regulations that affect this generations and generations to come. Then there is the scale deep, which is when you change people's mindsets. And I always give this example. If I talk to 1 million persons, women and men, in any country that uses FGM, which is female genital mutilation, I can talk to 1 million people, but I'm not sure how many of them really believe me or even were impacted. But if I work with 10,000 people and change their mindsets, then their kids, their grandsons, their granddaughters, their relatives, their neighbors will change. So again, when you change mindsets, you change the mindsets of this generation, but also generations to come. And really, these are very important for social entrepreneurs who are trying to change negative traditions sometimes or negative beliefs. So scale up, scale deep, and then the scale out is also important, which is have you replicated, have you really reached other countries, but also have you impacted them. So scale out is very important, but it has to have either scale up and deep with it, because you really want to have an impact, not just reach numbers of people.
Okay, so we can return to the discussion in the chat. So many people have engaged. This is awesome. I can't read all of them, but I would love to touch on a couple. So Anne, you said a colleague told me of her friend hiding in a basement in Ukraine using WhatsApp to share her fear of what is happening. It conjured up a clear vision for me of the desperation of our sisters and brothers in Ukraine are experiencing. So I think, Anne, what you're pointing out and what's so important is, the fact that oftentimes stories have this amazing and uncanny ability to, transcend geography and to connect us across the world. And I think, at the core of good, powerful journalism is ethical storytelling. So, after conducting hundreds of hours of interviews and spending months writing, I've thought a lot about, the personal journeys that so many women have shared with me and are achieving, and listening, to these stories. They do create like an instant bond with women from around the world, even if I've never visited those places or seen these women with my own eyes. And I think that's one of the many amazing parts of this project, is to showcase these women change makers and their impact and influence, to not only educate people about the issues that they're tackling, but, use stories to really forge this global community. So I think that that's an awesome point. Miriam from Project SOAR, she is one of the women that I have interviewed. I've had the privilege of talking to extensively. And she said Project SOAR girl Dunya used her skills that she learned at Project SOAR to negotiate her way out of her own pending child marriage. So, this is another really amazing example of stories just having, this awesome power to inspire us. And, in this case, she used her skills to do something, that will change her life forever. So then we have another example. Sydney, you said that a friend who was studying with me from Tanzania told me a story about all the challenges he faced trying to move to a new country and pursue his master's degrees. Immigration services made his life extremely difficult. He struggled to get a visa, cannot access a European bank account or earn money, but he refuses to give up. So, she also said what made this story so powerful was that it made me feel his suffering and want to do something about it. So again, this is another awesome example of stories, really inspiring action and inspiring, us to act on a system that we see as unjust. So I wish I could touch on the rest of these, but all of these answers in the chat are awesome. Thank you all so much for engaging with us here. So I now would love to move on to part 2 of our program, which is the reflection with the innovators, our 2 keynote speakers. So the first one will be with Dr. Rana Dajani and will be moderated by Aya. So Aya, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Dr. Iman, for your presentation. And thank you, everyone, for joining Ashoka today in the WISE Storytelling launch. I'm excited to be moderating this session and discussion with Dr. Rana Dajani. Allow me to introduce myself first. So my name is Aya Sabri. I'm the Regional Fellowship Program representative at Ashoka in the Arab world, and my work is mainly about supporting the leading social entrepreneurs like Dr. Rana and others in the region. It gives me a great honor to introduce our beloved Ashoka Fellow from Jordan, Dr. Rana Dajani. So Professor Dajani jokes that she is a woman who wears many scars. She's a social entrepreneur, molecular biologist, tenured professor at Hashemiyah University in Jordan, mother and author. Rana is also the founder of Wheel of Reading, a global movement based in Jordan that is utilizing the simple but powerful pastime of reading to increase children's empathy, cognitive development, and creativity in over 60 countries in the world. Wheel of Reading inspires children to read for fun through their research-backed Read Aloud program, and also through training local volunteers to read to children in their neighborhoods. Wheel of Reading is changing mindsets through reading to create change makers. Before listening to Rana herself and parts of her story, my colleague Audrey is going to leave you with some questions to think about while listening to Rana.
Yes, I am back. This is a very interactive session, so I really appreciate how just story everyone has done so far. Our next question, Dr. Iman explains the scaling up, out, and deep just now, and as Rana reads her story and answers the questions with Aya, please think about the following question. So do you know anyone who has impacted or improved their community by, changing policies, scaling up, as we call it, scaling out, reaching large numbers of people, or scaling deep, changing mindsets or behaviors? So please feel free to tell us in the chat and mention how this has impacted the community. So yes, back to you, Aya.
Thank you, Audrey. So again, it's an invitation for you all to reflect by listening to Dr. Rana about similar story, like a social entrepreneur that used the same methodology for scaling, something that popped in your mind that you feel very similar to what Dr. Rana is going to say, and what are the results that you saw from it. So please write in the chat, and Dr. Rana, now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Aya, Audrey, Dr. Iman, and the whole team at Ashoka, and everyone who has been working on this. It's a pleasure. So I'm a storyteller. That's what the neighbors and all the children in my neighborhood say. Oh, the hakawati came, which in Arabic means storyteller. So this is so appropriate for me to now read aloud a story. And usually when I start a story, I say once upon a time, or in Arabic, kan ya makan. Wheel of Reading has transformed the communities where the programs operate. Through reading and skill development, Wheel of Reading is catalyzing a cultural shift in which ambassadors and children are more independent, creative, and innovative, the hallmark traits of a change maker. At Ashoka's Women's Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship, WISE, this form of impact, when dominant mindsets, behaviors, and ultimately social norms are changed, is scaling deep. Wheel of Reading is designed to allow the participating children to take an active role in the sessions with the reading ambassadors instead of placing the onus on the parents. Dr. Dajani said, that kind of sounds weird. I'm telling you what I said, but that's okay. That's part of reading aloud. Dr. Dajani said, we wanted the child to fall in love with reading and be the champion. We flipped the system to give the kids agency. The kids made the decision to come, and this changed the mindset of the child. Ensuring that children have agency then improves their confidence, cultivates their curiosity, and empowers them to try new things. Wheel of Reading ambassadors have read to a combined 500,000 children, which has resulted in profound impacts on the youth's reading skills, cognitive development, and empathy. According to a study funded by UNICEF, these sessions improved children's attitudes about reading and increased their reading practice scores in comparison to kids who were not a part of the program. Another study done by Brown University found that Wheel of Reading read aloud sessions improved the executive functions, development, or cognitive skills needed for self-control and behavior management, especially for children from lower economic homes. Reading about stories that promote certain values like empathy can help foster those values within children. In fact, According to a study by the University of Chicago, integrating the values of empathy into children's stories increased children's generosity by nearly 100%. In addition, it increased children's interest in and concern for others. We Love Reading not only changes participating children's mindsets, but also the mindsets of the adults that are trained as ambassadors. These ambassadors experience increased feelings of agency, improved mental health, and reduced stress. Dr. Dajani said, We Love Reading acts as a stepping stone for volunteers to discover their own potential and to become change makers in their own right as adults. One way We Love Reading empowers ambassadors to be leaders in their communities is by tasking them with establishing and maintaining local libraries. We Love Reading provides ambassadors with a seed library of 30 books, but they are responsible for raising money in the community to purchase more books and sustain operations in the long run. Operating this project teaches individuals how to manage the finances and operations of the libraries while building a network in their communities to provide support. In an evaluation done by Hashemite University, We Love Reading volunteers showed an 84% increase in leadership skills after joining the program. We Love Reading is also designed to trigger a domino effect, changing the mindsets of each trainee who passes those mindset shifts to others, eventually affecting entire communities. Each ambassador is asked to teach the next round of volunteers the same values of responsibility and passion while teaching skills like public speaking, critical thinking, and debate. Additionally, a large percentage of ambassadors are women. According to a study conducted by Cambridge about the effect of We Love Reading on their female volunteers and their capacity to be change makers in their communities, We Love Reading isn't delivering services which need support system. It creates capabilities in hundreds of local women, enabling them to be creative for themselves. Scaling out a reading movement. The successful ripple effect of We Love Reading's organic grassroots model proved to be the catalyst for the program to replicate across the world. We Love Reading's profound success resulted in a swell of international attention and support. International organizations and leaders in the education world saw the impact and wanted to reach even more communities. Dr. Dajani started receiving grants exceeding $1 million, enabling her to increase the staff at We Love Reading from 3 to 30 employees and build the organization's infrastructure in addition to its legal, financial, and HR systems. With these new resources, Dr. Dajani could expand the program's objectives. Now, We Love Reading is accessible and easy replicable. It offers a free online training program that is being translated into a total of 12 languages. We Love Reading receives requests from individuals all over the world who want to become ambassadors. Their ambassador training program teaches participants about the importance of reading aloud for fun, how to change mindsets and create change makers, and how to establish regular read aloud sessions in their local neighborhoods. I don't want to say the end. I want to say to be continued. Over to you, Aya.
Exactly. Thank you, Dr. Rana. I think it was a great exercise to We Love Reading methodology. So reading aloud, thank you for your inspiration, your way in reading things and telling stories. I can capture like a lot of keywords in your story. First of all, like falling in love with reading. And it's not only about reading, but it's also about agency, changing mindsets, values, participation in the community, responsibility, passion. And I think the beauty of the model that it's a model that is replicable, and also the movement that was that emerged from this model to all over the world, to over like 60, more than 60 countries through the ambassadors program. So I think here I'm going to start with my first question, which is about scaling out. So We Love Reading has scaled out and expanded to 60 countries. So can you tell us more about the decision to go beyond Jordan? So you started in Jordan and then now it's a global movement. So can you tell us a bit more about this decision? How did you decide to go beyond Jordan and take this movement to a global level? And how did you come up with this decision? What are the steps that you have taken to do so? Yeah.
All right. Well, first of all, when I started We Love Reading, I wasn't thinking about the world or the globe. I was just thinking, I have the knowledge and skills to solve this problem, which is helping children fall in love with reading. And because I have that knowledge and skill, I had to do something about it. And so I thought, I'm going to be the change I want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. And I started reading aloud in my neighborhood. That's all that I was thinking. But over 3 years of trial and error and doing this in my neighborhood, I was able to create a program. And then I thought, I want this to spread. I want more people to take what I did in my neighborhood and walk the same walk that same journey. So I started talking to people. Again, I wasn't thinking global. I was just thinking, I have this, I need to share it. And so I started sharing it with neighbors, people on social media. And slowly people thought, oh, this is easy. This is something I can do, because I spent a long time honing it down to the most simple formula, kind of like chemistry or math. I'm a scientist. I have to talk a little bit of science. And so because it's based on shared universal values that are similar across the world, and because at the same time, it has this uniqueness where everybody reads in their own language. That's one of the most important things. You read in your native tongue. That allowed anybody to pick it up and do it. And because the ambassador owns the program and she gets all the credit, she never stops. So because of that, it started spreading by word of mouth. And every time we train someone, I thought of, oh, I'll tell her to pay it forward, that she doesn't have to pay it back to me. She has to pay it forward and train someone else. And then she tells that person, you'll have to train someone else. And so through this domino effect, the program has spread. And every week we get a new email or a Facebook message or a LinkedIn message or Twitter that, oh, we've heard of this program. We want to start. How can we start? And from every sector of life, from retired teachers and grandparents to young teenagers who want to give back to their community, to people who are employed in private foundations or banks or lawyers who want to also give back to their community, because it offers such a simple solution. And the best ideas that really can spread are those that are simple. Sometimes we think that we need to create a very sophisticated program to solve a problem. Actually, all you need to do is devise a simple program that allows it to spread, to be adapted easily by people everywhere you want. And as was mentioned earlier by Dr. Iman, that's the change you want to spread. You want it to reach every person in the world, if possible. And that way you will create change one person at a time. And that change is sustainable and transferable across generations.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. I can hear persistence. I can hear that, like at Ashoka, we define the social entrepreneur by like not resting. ما يناموش بالليل. They don't sleep until the problem is solved. So I think this is an approach to how like many social entrepreneurs scaled like out and deep and up by just being persistent to see the change all over the world and not resting until you see like everyone who's affected by the problem you're solving is reached out and like is part of the solution. And now I want to ask you more about the part about changing, scaling deep. So at Ashoka and at Women Initiative for Social Entrepreneurship, we define scaling deep as changing the mindsets and building movements out of like your We Love Reading model. So We Love Reading has also not only scaled out in so many countries, but also it scaled deep. So in your opinion, how does reading scale deep, like changing mindsets for both children and adults who participate in your program? So how are you harnessing the power of science to prove the gravity of these mindset shifts for the children's future?
So I'll explain how We Love Reading is changing deep and changing mindsets, starting with children and then adults. First of all, in children, when you are reading, it's not just about breaking the letters to connect them together to create a word. The reading that we promote is the reading for fun. And that kind of reading is what goes deep into your cognition and deep into your mind and into your heart. Just like now when we were asked, can we write a story that has affected us? We evolved to be storytellers as a species. And that's how we survived, because we learn through storytelling. What do we learn? Well, first we learn lessons. We learn about other people and other cultures, which teaches us empathy. We learn to respect others, even if we may disagree. We learn to listen. We learn to express ourselves because we get words from the literature we read so that we can express our thoughts and our desires and our emotions in words rather than using our hands or our fists. And that way we are more balanced people, and we can transfer our experiences, our ideas, our solutions to those around us, and it will stay even beyond our lives because we write it down, because we were able to formulate what's in our mind in words. Reading also gives us the courage, right? To become the heroes we read about. Many times in our communities, we are put down by the members of our community, and we feel that we can't do any change, and we're too weak, or we're too ignorant. But when we read about a hero or a heroine, and we say, wait, she was able to do this, or he was able to do this, and that's where I gain that confidence. I say, you know what? I'm going to do it regardless of what people around me say. And all you need to do to achieve things is to be able to dream. And books helps expand that imagination and help you to dream. And if you can dream it, then it's possible. And so you can become that change maker because you have changed your mindset through reading. Now, what evidence we have performed or conducted to prove this, because I'm a scientist, I've invited scientists from all over the world in different disciplines to come and study the impact of We Love Reading on the children. And so as mentioned in part of the storytelling, we have, for example, University of Chicago did a study and showed how children's empathy went up 100-fold just by reading stories. With Brown University, we showed that working memory improved, inhibitory control, which allows you to be able to sit and listen, also improved. And we call these executive functions. Emotional regulation, where I can control my emotions, which gives me an opportunity to learn more, to reflect, and to be able to develop critical skills. We have been able to show that the children involved in We Love Reading improved in all these traits as well. We also showed that children who have undergone trauma, whether in early childhood or because of the wars and strife that is going around us, that their emotional perception is impacted. So when they see a face, they always identify it more sad than happy. We showed with Queen Mary University, London, that we were able to shift back these children's emotional perception back to normal just by reading aloud these stories in a discomfortable environment of having fun. And so with that evidence and many more that we're actually conducting now, we have been able to show that we can change the behavior of children, their attitudes and practices towards reading, and in a way that is long-term, that stays with them as they grow older, because we have focused on that intrinsic motivation. This is not extrinsic motivation to make them read. This is intrinsic. And so it stays with them. When they fall in love with reading, they fall in love with learning, and they become lifelong learners for the future. And because of that, they seek opportunities for information, for reading, which to them is a lot of fun that will stay with them as they grow older. For adults, that's for children. For adults, you can transfer all this learning to the adults. And I'll just share a few things. What we've realized through anecdotes and storytelling, and through research with Harvard University, Brunel, and Hong Kong University, that these adults, especially the majority are women, but we've also done studies on male fathers as well. That was a study with Lund University. We showed that their agency increased, their feeling of confidence, leadership skills, and their ability to express themselves, to have eye contact, which led them to get better jobs or to become, more appreciated in their communities. And just to have that mindset, again, back to that mindset of I can, that I don't have to wait for anybody to go out. I can do it by myself. And that's a journey that differs from one person to another. For some, the journey is just that I can leave the house without feeling that I have to ask permission, that I'm worthy enough. That is a huge step. For us, for some of us, that could be, oh, that's simple, but for some, that's profound. And for others, no, they go beyond and create their own NGOs, tackling other local problems in their neighborhood, or finding a new job. And so that leadership journey, that social entrepreneurship journey that the women and men ambassadors go through is transformational for their lives.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rana. You actually answered two questions in one, because I was going to ask about the measures for the aptitude shift. So thank you for merging between them, the scaling deep at the beginning, and how the model of Wheel of Reading has scaled deep. And as you said, it goes deep to the minds and hearts of the children and the adults, and what goes deep in the hearts and minds actually stays there. And I think this is the sustainability of Wheel of Reading, that it's once a person has the agency and has the courage to become the heroes in the story, as you said, and their imagination is expanded. I think this is what the attitude shift happens, and changing the mindset happens. So thank you for this, and also for the impact. I think what's the beauty of Wheel of Reading model is that you created measures for something that is very hard to measure. It's very hard to measure the shifts in the attitude, but you actually worked with so many universities, and I think this is something that all social entrepreneurs, and I invite all the audience to think about, how we can develop measures for things that it's hard to be measured. So I think it's the opportunity for us all to learn from your work about this. My last question would be, can you tell us more about an obstacle that you have overcome, and how did you do it?
Oh, that's a good question. So I'm a very optimistic person. And when somebody tells me obstacle, I say, what? I don't understand that concept, because to me, every obstacle is actually a learning experience. It's an opportunity to learn. And so to me, it's exciting, and I want to tackle it. So I don't like to call them obstacles. I like to call them positive experiences. As scientists, we're always doing, we keep repeating and learning every iteration. Same thing with social entrepreneurs. And so as an optimist, I say that actually these are learning experiences. And maybe one of the profound learning experiences that I went through is, and this touches back to the measurement, is that how to measure success. Usually in international NGOs, they measure success by counting numbers. How many trained, how many things were given out, how many books were given out, how many food packets, and so on. And working in the community, being from the community that I serve, those numbers really don't mean much, honestly. We can fill them out, we can count as much as we want, but when you go inside the mindset, you see nothing has changed. And so to me, no, I want to measure that change in mindset. And that was an obstacle, because I realized that to do that, it's not about numbers, it's about storytelling. Back to the concept of this meeting today and this initiative. Through storytelling, you can capture those changes in the mindset, in the emotions, in the hearts that are transferable and sustainable. And so the struggle was, how do you convince funders, donors, and so on, that I want to use stories as a measure of my impact and not just numbers? I'll put numbers, but I don't believe in them. I don't think they're enough. And so that has been a struggle. And in order to overcome that, what I said is, I will give you stories and the numbers that you want, but not too many numbers, because I don't want to overburden my volunteers. These are volunteers. I will take their stories, because I look at these volunteers as partners in what I'm doing. Their feedback, their stories, I don't call that reporting when they share it. It's sharing. They are creating the program as they go by sharing what happened to them in the community as they implemented the program, because they are the true champions and owners of the program. So to change the terminology, the jargon we use, is so important to maintain that agency. And then to share those stories, take them, and then those are the ones that we feed back to the donor or funder. And that's how we measure success. The other way, just to let's say fulfill the thirst of the funder to get concrete data, we do the deep dive research that I just described with different universities on a small sample of the population. And that way we prove the principle in a small sample, but then for the whole numbers that we serve, we gather stories. Now, what we've realized, and this is always the same around the world and throughout history, when you come up with an innovative idea that really is better than the old ideas or the traditional ideas, first of all, you're opposed, but eventually everybody starts changing, and this becomes the norm. And that's what we're hearing today. There have been fundamental paradigm shifts even to the extent of system change in how funders fund and how measurement of impact is done. And we like to say that we were champions of that, of using storytelling as a core component of measuring impact that is sustainable and that is real among the people that we serve and we work with around the world. And that's a call that, you know, we always back to connecting the scaling deep with the scaling out and the scaling up. They're all connected in a way, organically. As you work on one, you're going to be starting touching the others at the same time, just like the tree, you know, they're all spreading together. And I think fundamentally it's about thinking, again, back to the beginning of this interview, what can I do? And not to worry on the long term or whether somebody's going to accept it or going to like it. Don't think of what others want. Think what is right, what you think is right, and stick by it. Persistent, 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 and believe in your gut feeling, right? And eventually it'll become the norm.
Thank you, Dr. And I think I can hear that convincing funders and convincing donors is not a very easy job. So if we can take this as a lesson, not and a learning opportunity, not an obstacle, I think using the data and having like concrete data is something for other women social entrepreneurs to learn from. And stories, sometimes like people use it as anecdotes, but I think the beauty of what you did is you actually developed the methodology for telling the stories, that it doesn't appear as an anecdote. It's actually a proof that your model is working and you're doing like shifts, like mindset shifts and all that. So I think you succeeded in this. And I think this is, I invite all the women social entrepreneurs who are listening to learn from having like concrete data for your work and use the storytelling methodology. So Dr. Iman, you have your hands up.
Yes, I loved Rana all the time, and I really couldn't help, because you exactly tell us exactly what we want. I mean, this is really what WISE wants to do. I love your example of saying numbers. I also don't believe in numbers very much. I mean, I think it's important, of course, to reach more people, but the change of mindset is important. And I think your point of success, Rana, really was in the studies you made, because at the end, we are speaking to an ecosystem that's not yet in our movement. So it's important to speak the language. And I think the study you did, and also identifying the indicators to look at, you know, all the indicators about the young kids and the agency and the adults, I think this is something we have to learn. And we'll talk to you later, because I think we should use it as a model to help other female fellows so that we can convince the ecosystem of the impact of our work. Thank you.
Definitely. I'm ready to help and support, because we're all going to learn together.
So thank you so much, Dr. Rana. It's very inspiring session. As Dr. Iman mentioned recently, and also in the beginning of the presentation, that part of the objectives of the WISE initiative is again to showcase the success of the women social entrepreneurs and to prove to the world that they are not only implementing system changing solutions and doing a change and having like innovative solutions to their local problems, but they can also succeed in implementing those solutions on a bigger scale through the different approaches, whether up, out, and deep. And this, I think, was evident from your story and from your work that just changing mindsets in Jordan wasn't enough for you. You wanted to change all the mindsets all over the world, and we can say that you succeeded in this through the ambassadors program. But again, this is a model that, like, part again of WISE objectives is to showcase to the world. So thank you, Dr. Rana, and to more and more impact in the world. And now we can transition to Audrey to read some answers from the chat.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Rana. I have absolutely loved, hearing your story and writing it and getting to know you more. It's endlessly inspiring. I will just take a minute to reflect on one of the answers in the chat. So Jackie said, Helen Jim is a councilwoman in the city of Philadelphia. She introduced a bill that mandated mediation between landlords and tenants before eviction. And this was seen as an example across the nation and prompted even more discussion about change that could be made to address housing inequalities. So I think, Jackie, this is such a good example of scaling up. And what's so powerful about changing, introducing, or enforcing a law or policy is that it fundamentally changes how the system works and how it responds to an issue, in this case, housing inequality. So we have a lot of examples of that in the stories on our website and the stories that we have been telling. For example, one of our fellows, Viviana Weissman in Spain, whose story is on the website, she has achieved over a dozen important legal wins that have really transformed how the law is applied to better protect the rights of women and girls in areas of migration, sexual and reproductive health, and gender-based violence. So it really, promotes the idea that changing a country's laws to be more gender just, it affects not only the women and girls today, but entire generations to come. So this is such a good example of the power of scaling up. And I could keep going. We have a couple of really good reflections in the chat, but I think we will now give the floor to Dr. Iman and Hasina to dive into her story. And yes, Dr. Iman. Oh, you are muted, Dr. Iman.
Yeah, this is okay. So Hasina, I don't know how to introduce you. You are a very, very close friend. You are one of the founders of WISE since 2011. You are a very dedicated and strong woman who overcome many, many challenges. And you have scaled up, deep, and out. So you fit exactly the role model we want. And you are a very honest and transparent person. But apart from this, I would like to say that she's also the chairwoman and founder of Impulse NGO Network, an organization that has revolutionized the fight against human trafficking through its globally recognized Impulse model. Now, Hasina came in and decided to attack a very, very important, many, many years ago. She can tell you when, I will not say, but it was many, many years ago, and she addressed the issue of trafficking, and she was able to achieve many things on the grassroots level, on the middle level, and even in between states level, and she will talk about that, I'm sure. Hasina and her team have strengthened prevention mechanisms and facilitated the streamlined process of reporting and reintegrating survivors. They were able to reach over 73,000 cases of human trafficking and reintegrate them in society. So, I mean, she has many, many awards. I think we will spend the whole day if I talk about your achievements, Hasina, and your awards. So let us just go deeper into the questions. So I think you should read a little bit of your story, the story that was written between you and Audrey, and that is on our website now. So can you read a little bit first?
Thank you so much, Dr. Iman, and congratulations to all the team at WISE for making this possible today. As I join in from India, I just wanted to just go back into telling this deep story of where did I start, where my journey is. Hasina remembers sitting in a police station in 1989 to demand someone take action to protect a human trafficking survivor from a village in the northeast of India. Instead of assisting her, she recalled a senior officer, a law enforcement, who was lecturing at her, "Young lady, you should not be spending your time in a police station. If a woman wants to leave the home and be a prostitute, you should not be affected." Hasina's concerns were not only dismissed, I still remember those journeys, but often belittled as authority figure, insisted that human trafficking cases resulted from conscious choices made by individuals. But Hasina's research and relationship with survivors of human trafficking indicated otherwise. Hasina maintained that the dominant attitude held by the police and law enforcement was not only morally wrong, but illegal. India criminal law stipulated there will be comprehensive measures to counter the menace of human trafficking. Hasina and her team took matters into their own hands to institutionalize a new protocol for addressing human trafficking, not only nationally, but internationally. In 3 decades, Impulse NGO Network, the organization, has mandated training for law enforcement, supporting and establishing to respond bodies known as the Anti-Human Trafficking Unit, the AHTU, which became the center force of what India has in response to human trafficking, and achieved legal victories that shut down not only the rat hole mining operation using children. INGON created the Impulse NGO Network, a curriculum and training manual based on resources that was received from the US State Department for the Indian Law Enforcement and Police Training School to better identify and protect victims of human trafficking. Training is now mandatory, standardized, and funded by the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is sustainable. Alongside like-minded organization, Impulse NGO Network, alongside other, has successfully lobbied the ministry to set up anti-human trafficking unit in every Indian state. Impulse NGO Network has also achieved several court wins. For example, Hasina and her team fought the rampant problem of child labor and exploitation in the rat hole mines in India, Jaintia Hill district in the state of Meghalaya. This unlawful and dangerous form of mining, categorized by digging deep vertical shelves, has caused untold human and environmental disaster, including the exploitation of around 70,000 child laborers who have been trafficked from Nepal and Bangladesh. Despite many attempts, physical attack, and a ransacking of their office, Impulse NGO Network successfully filed a public interest litigation, PIL, with the National Green Tribunal, the NGT, in 2014, which instituted a blanket ban on the rat hole mining in the state of Meghalaya in northeast of India. This is almost a US $650 million industry. However, mine owners are not giving up, and Impulse NGO Network continue to take legal action against the industry to protect both child laborers and the environment. Shattering silos to scale out, when Impulse NGO Network started receiving cases from around and outside of Meghalaya, they realized the need to scale out and train other states and even neighboring countries to implement the Impulse model in the local context. As Hasina said, human trafficking has no boundaries. It was not possible to just be project-oriented. It has to be a collective leadership response. Hasina and her team also noticed that slow and ineffective reporting and documentation processes prevented the identification and incarceration of human traffickers, especially across India, the porous border, which are the hotspot for human trafficking. Impulse NGO Network presented a twofold solution: an internationally coordinated response by a streamlined reporting platform. In 2017, Hasina and her team crafted the standard operating procedure for human trafficking between India and Myanmar, as these two countries have signed the UN protocol to address human trafficking, the first of its kind joint effort between the government and the law enforcement bodies. These procedures outline cross-border investigation, criminal prosecution, rescue, and repatriation, and compensation for victims. To stop crucial data from slipping through the crack of bureaucracy, Hasina and her team created the online Impulse Case Management Center, which is called the ICMC, that allow law enforcement from both countries to document cases and catalyze intervention, collaboration, and partnership with service provider. As Mr. Hemkumar Jain, a minister at the Embassy of India in Myanmar, said, with the software that INGON provided, the two sites can respond much faster than before. This also improved the understanding between the two police forces across the border. The Impulse model has been replicated in 8 states in the northeast of India and North Bengal, and implemented by country partner in Myanmar, Nepal, and Bangladesh, under a partnership between the British High Commission and Impulse NGO Network. European and South Asian stakeholder convened in London in 2016 to scale the Impulse Case Management Center platform globally. Hasina said, this has resulted in overall increased reliability and efficiency of response, human trafficking, and has further strengthened the anti-human trafficking network through the increased and continuous communication. Impulse NGO now comprises a community of more than 161 local, national, and international partners fighting human trafficking across the region and globally.
Thank you so much, Hasina. And your achievements are beyond even this session. I just want to clarify to the audience that both Rana and Hasina, they speak in the third person because they're reading the stories, in case people didn't, people joined later. So it's not like she wants to talk about herself in the third person. It's just that they are reading the stories that are on the website that were written by Audrey and the team of the WISE Storytelling Initiative. So I just want to clarify that. So Hasina, from your story, which I know very well, but also thank you for sharing it with us, you have scaled actually up, deep and out, but we'll come to this later. But I think you're also a great model of all the measurement that WISE Initiative created and wanted to really people to adopt. But in Ashoka, we also have a belief. We have a belief that you're a social entrepreneur, you are a successful person because you have led young. Because when you were young, just like what Rana's trying to do with the young people and young people of Jordan and the world and making them change makers, we believe that you cannot be successful unless, or most probably you were also, you have led young. So I'd like to know a little bit about what have you been doing before even you were young and into the police station with the guy. What have you done? Tell me a little bit about your background, your youth, your innovative ideas, your unique ideas.
Thank you, Iman, for that question. I think when I go back to the present day of what I am talking to the whole global world today, I would say it went back to that present day work and passion that could be traced all the way back when my desire as a young person to understand and tackle complex issue. I always wanted to know the why, always as a young person. For everything, I have a question besides social issue. Even as a child, when I was in grade school, I was mainly in the high school, when my school sent students to volunteer on weekend at the local shelter, which became a part and parcel of our local community and outreach to actually bring in to have more high empathy. I would not feel that proud of myself like my peers. Everyone say, oh, we have done this week, we have done that week. But because it felt like we were not really helping them in the long run. So those were the questions that used to be burning inside my gut feeling as a young person when I was in high school. Our giving was not a solution. We needed to change the way the system responded to people in these circumstances was often what I would always talk to my peers. Giving only charity, but offering no real change or solution, I felt very, very uncomfortable. I was more concerned about the larger system that allow people to live in such poverty and wanted to provide them with the right tool. So I often said that all of us has human rights. All of us has to have access to human rights, but we need to have that tool that people could access that human right. So that was the burning issue as a young person when I was volunteering. In high school, I was very active with a program. That was the program which is called the Leadership Training Services. In short, the LTS. It was a school program. It used to engage a lot of young people. I was one of them who was very, very active as a young person at the age of 17. And it had actually created high empathy among students and my peers to be involved with the communities. But what happened is at that point, LTS actually exposed me to the community where I live and had also helped me to come out of a very protected childhood. So as a child, being the youngest in the family, I was very protective. So that exposure helped me to have high empathy and understand the surrounding and the situation. So when high school was getting over, I had to do my board exam. I really wanted to carry forward the program. So decided to start an alumni and got my group of friends to continue the work. So we were doing on the weekends whenever we were in school. But then my group of friends would come to my house. In fact, every Saturday and Sunday, I still remember. And I think those were those moments where we would say, let's do something to make a change. Now, the group that I used to bring together, the LTS alumni, my peers of my classmate, eventually became members of the Impulse NGO network that I'm running today. But before it became the organization, the Impulse NGO network, we were a group of young people who were working in an artisanal community in a village called the East Kharsail district in the state of Meghalaya. This village happens to be a village which is very near to my grandmother. And I used to visit that village because I would go there during my winter holidays and weekends. So we were running a livelihood program. And the reason for that livelihood program was to increase women, to have higher income in this village, because the low income was actually fueling migration to urban areas to find work. And that is when we had noticed that there was missing children, and they were reported, and then some of them were not even reported. And that when the seed that we have to do something, and the bird of Impulse NGO Network was really planted, Iman.
No, I think this is a fascinating story. I mean, I believe that, you were always passionate, and you were concerned, and you cared about the other, and you went and and that's how you went and you were exposed to other parts of life, and that's how you became empathetic, and that's how you got into Impulse. I think it's the trajectory of all our social entrepreneurs, and thank you so much for sharing. Now, I want you briefly to tell me a little bit about, you have decided to address, as you said, from the day you went to the police station, to address a very, very sensitive topic. But as you know, in WISE, we talk about how we overcome challenges. So in bullet points, briefly, tell me what are the challenges in the last 3 decades that you have overcome. We all face as women, but also the cause and the issue you were discussing is very, very sensitive. So tell me in bullet points, what are moments or situations where you have overcome challenges? Just mention 2 major challenges that you have overcome.
All right. So I think among the many, many obstacles in this journey of 32 years, I would just go back inside. And the first and the biggest was building credibility in the eyes of the authority in India, because I was just 17 years old. And I still remember, I had to really dress up in my traditional attire so that they would take me seriously. And looking nothing like my age, because my age was something like a barrier I felt in most of my communication. I could be taken seriously when I approached a police officer, and the first respondent would help me assist to protect the victims of human trafficking. So I was belittled, as my story explained, Iman. And then when I had no idea what I was talking about, but I was not about to give up. So that determination not to give up, that I have to prove that I might be young, but I have the understanding of the issue, and I really want to change the way how enforcement look at women and children, and the fact of child labor, was something that I wanted to address. So changing the way I dress, was something that I really fight back and make them really listen to me, so that I would be able to get the protection of these, people who are affected by being exploited. But I needed to also show that I was serious about changing the way the system responded to victims of human trafficking, which I know that would take decay, but that was one way of how to increase the number of victims we are trying to reach out and try to curb the human trafficking. I needed to show that even though I was young, I was serious about solving this issue and finding the tool. I needed to increase efficiency and response time. Now, if I look back, Iman, now I could work in jeans and sneakers, and the enforcement would listen to me. But it took me 5 years to really be dressing up like a grown-up so that they could listen to me. So 5 years.
I think it's very important. I totally agree with you, but I think just not the dress. I think the idea that you said credibility and deliverable. I mean, at the end of the day, because you were credible, because you kept your word, because you were persistent, you overcome challenges. You did not give up. Yes, you can accommodate by dressing as a grown-up a little bit, so what, until you reach what you want. But I think flexibility, creativity, being dedicated, persistent, and credible are really criteria that are all in all social entrepreneurs. And it's very important for women to know that we don't give up. As also challenge is, it's not really, I mean, it's not an obstacle, it's a challenge that we have to overcome. So let me just go to finally my third question, which will have 2 or 3 parts. You are one of the examples, as I said, who scaled up deep and out, right? So the out is the how you manage to get UN and countries to agree on your law that you produced, or the agreement or the convention, and the scaling deep and scaling up is how you change the law enforcement to come and join your forces and to be trained. So can you tell me again, as brief as you can, just how did you scale? How would you define your scaling deep and up and out? very briefly.
The most important for me was that if to change the system to respond to the victims of human trafficking, the first thing I had to change the attitude, the idea held by law enforcement that women and girls or child laborer were choosing this life. So many police officers told me that men from this region are just very handsome. So you're choosing to be working with people who want to be prostitute. But I still remember, Iman, I mean, when I really look back, is the story of one survivor advocate, Ella Sangma. She told me that if I had the choice, not to migrate, when my mother was sending me to work as a domestic help in a city, I was sold, and I had no other choices. And that has led me to a question that we have to scale deep into this problem. And the fact that if there was economic livelihood opportunity for these young women, as Ella Sangma, the rescued survivor, the survivor advocate, then we would be able to make things happen. The other factor was that changing the mindset of law enforcement so that they take these cases really seriously, not as prostitution. So to overhaul that system, beginning with how police were trained. So training was very important, setting up training session in major training school, academic, police responses, and the fact that the anti-human trafficking unit came to life. It also bring in the resources that we need to scale deep by changing the mindset and behavior, Iman. And that has led to the trust factor of how the situation can be addressed more productively.
Yeah, so you scaled out you went to Myanmar and India and where else?
Yeah, so after scaling very deep, I know, like I just mentioned in my story.
Just tell me the countries, yeah.
Yes, so we are able to also scale out to Myanmar, to Nepal and Bangladesh, taking the impulse model. And while we were scaling out, we were scaling deep to contextualize the adaptation in this country. And at the same time, besides scaling out and scaling deep in every country, there was also scaling up, in the factor that we establish a standard operating procedure for human trafficking between India and Myanmar, that law enforcement could respond uniformly and efficiently. This was the way that we scale out by just not creating a technology platform, but we also resulted in streamlined approaches that help in the result of cases that has been intervened collectively through a single window platform, which is more than 73,000 cases. So that was where the Southeast Asia initiative in 4 multiple countries was scaling out, scaling deep, but along with scaling out and scaling deep was the scaling up, changing this procedure, bringing the standard agreement between countries that led to the systematic way of approaches and also led to the uniformity of responses. And the law was changed. So that was an impact of the process of going to 4 countries.
Well, I'm very, very thankful and grateful for your story, but I also think that these 2 stories today are very important for all our colleagues from Ashoka. I've seen a lot of names, but also women and men from across the world and the ecosystem. This is really the objective of the Storytelling Initiative, because, traditionally people will write stories and they will write nice things and they will make you feel a little bit, empathetic about the story and all the challenges that a certain group faces. But our Storytelling Initiative, the work that Audrey and our fellows did, is about showing how these 2 women and all the others, by the way, all the 86 that were interviewed, and the 10 that will be on the website that you will see at the end, all of them have scaled deep out and up, or at least 2 of them. The idea is to recognize this. So every woman here should recognize that we do have an impact. Sometimes we don't notice. So we help you here in WISE to notice. We help you here to verbalize it, because anybody, when I was doing my own work and my own NGO, I didn't have time to come in and think of what I'm doing, because just as Rana said, when we start things, we started because of our passion, because of our devotion and commitment, which is again, one of the criteria of being a social entrepreneur. So everyone here, these stories are wonderful. The website will have even more stories like this, and we will even have times when some of our fellows will come and speak on the website. Audrey will later tell you when she goes around with you at the end of the session. But everyone here, I am so proud to have you both as friends and as social entrepreneurs that we elected, but I'm also proud of everyone who has been in our stories, but everyone also who is listening here. So thank you all. Back to Audrey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iman. Thank you so much, Hasina. Again, it's been such an honor to not only hear your personal journey, but your journey with INGON. So it's endlessly inspiring. But now I would love to open it up again to the audience. We are gonna have an open Q&A. So, members of the audience, feel free to ask the panelists or speakers anything about their journey, impact, thoughts, and words of wisdom, you name it. You can also ask questions about the Storytelling Project for our WISE team to answer. So I will be waiting for your questions in the chat, and everyone is here to answer. So while we wait for some questions, Hasina, I think your story is just such an amazing example of all forms, all types of scaling, and it's awesome to hear your story be read aloud, because I got to see it from a personal perspective, and now I get to see it on the website and see it come to fruition. So it's very, very exciting. So does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Okay, Claire Davenport. She is our formal WISE Global Coordinator. We miss you, Claire. So she said, would love to hear from the speakers as to why sharing stories like these are so important for advancing, scaling up, out, and deep impact. So this is open to Dr. Rana or Hasina. Either of you, feel free to jump in.
I'll jump in quickly. I mean, we talked about the importance of storytelling, and that's the thread throughout this webinar. But maybe something that I can add to that is the importance of role models that are showcased through storytelling. Many times in different parts of the world, there's only a particular kind of role model that we all hear because of globalization. We only hear from the global north examples of women who have succeeded or have been able to achieve their dreams. But we don't see people who look like us, dress like us, or speak our language. And that's a challenge and a barrier. So when we highlight those stories through storytelling, we provide those role models that are familiar to the young women and young men. So that the young woman can dream and say, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And young men can see women who from their own family who look like their sisters and wives and daughters and mothers. And so they help support them as well. So for that, highlighting role models is very, very important.
I like to jump in here, Audrey, but thank you, Audrey, for giving life to both our stories and the other stories on the website, because that is storytelling by itself. For me, I would say that the fact that storytelling help us to relook at ourselves, deeply. It helped us to reconnect with ourselves, and the possibility that if I could start at 17 from a small town in the northeast of India, far off in Southeast Asia, people who would be reading the story would be able to resonate the geographical location, the place, and also the fact that the things that they have within themselves, which is burning in the belly, they can also do. So that is something about reconnecting themselves to the story that they read, and the possibility of the region that they represent or we all represent. So this is what I feel the power of storytelling. And I think WISE is just doing exactly that. We are here basically to help each one of us listening today to reconnect with ourselves, with the child in ourselves, of what we are and who we are as a child, and the burning factor of being a child, and what we could be able to take it forward.
I also would like to jump, because I think also one of the objectives of WISE is really to create role model. I mean, of Ashoka in general for social entrepreneurship, but also with WISE is we want to have the all girls club. Not necessarily that we are against men or anything, but it's just that we want also women to work together. And we have what Geneva will be explaining later, the Changemakers platform. But I also think the way we decided, and it took us a long time to be able to reach the right way of story, the way we decided to write the story is, again, very different. The stories in our storytelling initiative is really trying to focus on how women overcome challenges, how women scale up, deep, or out, and they are doing system change for as social entrepreneurs. So this is extremely important because that's really what we want to do. We want young girls to understand that women can and they do overcome obstacles, as you all said, but we also want the ecosystem, the investors, the donors who put money in women-led organizations to understand, that there are new measurements and that our fellows, the women we are highlighting and the women we are doing the stories, and Audrey interviewed and others will interview in the future, all of these women have really, they have an impact. And that's important for us, so that young girls are not afraid of challenges and young girls realize their own potential. So anyway, I just wanted to say this.
Yes, thank you all so much for reflecting on that. And Claire, thank you so much for that thoughtful question. So we're running a little bit behind time. So that is, we're just going to stick with one question. And now I would love to move on to how you can get involved in the Women's Initiative and the Storytelling Project. So I can give the floor to Geneva Gleason, our WISE Global Coordinator.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you, Hasina, Dr. Rana, and Dr. Iman for your contributions. It's really amazing to see everything come to life this way. And so everyone who joined us today, please don't let this be your last engagement with the WISE movement. This is a movement for everyone, and we want people all over the world of all genders to be part of uplifting the work of our women innovators across the world. So first and foremost, if this event, if these stories, if hearing from Hasina and Dr. Rana made you think of any other women in your life who have led social impact at any level, please nominate them to be featured in our storytelling initiative. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat where if you have someone in mind, whether it be an Ashoka Fellow or another woman social entrepreneur, we would love to hear from you. We really wanted to feature that person in the storytelling initiative. Finally, or as well, we would love to have the storytelling website be an interactive community space. So all of the stories will have discussion prompts and reflection invitations. And we hope that as you read the stories, which will come out over the next few weeks and months and years, that you'll take the time to reflect on the story and drop a comment, share the story with anyone you think it might resonate with. So we really hope to hear from you and hear your feedback as we continue to build this project with you. Finally, if you would like to stay updated on WISE activities, please sign up for our newsletter. And I'll drop a few links in the chat now so that you can access all of that. And for any other engagement with WISE, be that through the Changemakers community that Dr. Iman has mentioned, or attending other events that we have coming up. We have one next week, an intergenerational changemaker chat, and we will have a 3-day summit in May as well. And all of these events are centered around celebrating and uplifting the impact of women in our network. So thank you so much for your time and attention today. And I hope that you will get in touch with us, whether as part of our newsletter or in other capacities. Thank you.
Okay. So closing remarks and a big thank you. Well, first of all, I really would like to thank all the speakers, Hasina and Rana. Thank you so much for your time. But I also would like to thank Aya for her work and Geneva. And of course, the moderator and the fire behind the scene, Audrey, thank you so much. And Hadir also for the help. So really, really, all of you, thank you. Thank you also everyone who is here. Geneva just talked about getting involved. But I also think that you should be part of, I mean, not should be, but we would really invite you to be part of the WISE movement and to come in and attend the Get Wiser, which will be in May, and other activities. Of course, in 2 minutes, Audrey will be showing you the website, but we would like you to be more involved. We would like you to be ambassadors for really redefining success for women. So that the ecosystem really understands that the rules of the games have changed and that women do have impact, and especially women social entrepreneurs, of course. So anyway, I really thank you all. Hasina, if you can say one word, and Rana, one word, before we move to Audrey again.
I would say the power of women who have managed to scale can be multiplied through the WISE storytelling. And I really would like to deeply sincere that this journey with WISE from 2011 has been so meaningful. And it's really meaningful because if we can multiply more women out there, that scaling out is not possible. It's possible. It's not impossible. Scaling deep in every places, women can do it.
For me as a scientist, I want to just emphasize that each person is unique. Their DNA is unique. Nobody has that DNA ever will ever have it. So you are special, and you need to have that confidence to go out and solve the challenges that you see around you, because the world needs you, and you can't leave the world without giving that uniqueness that you have to the world. And don't think that you have to create a big splash. It's the butterfly effect, the chaos theory in physics, where when a butterfly flutters its wings, it moves the wind a centimeter, but we know that through time and space, there will be a hurricane somewhere else. So be that butterfly, flutter those wings, and the magic will happen.
Yeah, but we want positive hurricanes, inshallah, when they do the butterfly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I love scientific people. It's very impressive. Okay, so again, thanks everyone. Thank you all, for attending, and a lot of our colleagues and our friends online now. Thank you so much. I don't want to thank one or the other, but all of you for being here. Really, we're very grateful. And we would not be successful without everyone in Ashoka and outside, So again, Mabruk, Audrey, I now turn the stage to you so that you can go around and show them the website. And good luck. Thank you again, Yahya, for everything.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Now, Hadil, if you want to open up the website, I can give you a super quick tour because I know we have about a minute or so. So I am super excited about the website. We have been working on this for about a year now. So our dynamic website is where stories of change making will be shared and discussed, celebrating and elevating the awareness of women social entrepreneurs who are tackling complex issues around the world. So starting with the homepage where we are now, to represent the diversity of locations and fields of work that our women fellows work in, this site features an interactive map, which I find very fun, to explore where women changemakers are leading impact, as well as an interactive list of UN Sustainable Development Goals, so you can find stories that you are passionate about. And then, so that's the homepage. And then if you would like to learn more about WISE, about the Storytelling Project, about Ashoka Arab World, you can check out our About page and resources page that gives more background information about our organization and projects, along with other resources like publications and reports. And right there's some more information about scaling up, out, and deep. And then finally, our main focus of the site is the Stories of Impact page. So this is my favorite page, obviously, because it houses all of the stories of impact that we will be publishing weekly. So we're going to build off of the 10 stories that you see here, and really expand and hopefully get up to around 200 stories. So in these stories, we really they take around 5 to 7 minutes to read, and they feature a lot of photos and videos of the social entrepreneurs work. So readers can leave comments and reflections and share stories on social media. We would absolutely appreciate any support with sharing it with your network, so to get the word out. And as Geneva said on the Get Involved page, we would love to co-create the storytelling project with you. The storytelling project really belongs to everybody. So please feel free to leave your information and nominate somebody who you think should be featured. So the link is in the chat for you guys to check out the storytelling project. We would love, love for you to leave some comments, email me with any feedback, and figure out a way to collaborate this together. So that concludes the website tour and the storytelling launch event. I can't thank you enough for being here. I can't thank the fellows enough, and I can't thank the Ashoka Arab World team enough for reading draft after draft after draft of these stories. So I really appreciate it. It's been a huge team effort. And since we have attendees from all over the world, I wish you a great morning, afternoon, or night. So everybody have an amazing day, evening, or night. Thank you all so much. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. It's been amazing. Always great to work with you, Dr. Iman, and everyone. Meet all these wonderful people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Iman, Audrey, and the whole team at Ashoka Arab World for making this possible today. Congratulations to each one of you.
Absolutely. Yalla. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Good night.